No, I think he's going to be much less radical than you would think. I think he's got a very open mind, or I wouldn't have put him there. He's going to be very much less radical.
So, which part? I'm so curious. You know, the guy, he actually wrote a book about how HIV doesn't cause AIDS. He said out loud that he believes COVID-19 is a bioweapon engineered to spare Ashkenazi Jews and target black people. That's a pretty profoundly up thing to think or say out loud, you know? So, full caucus set to vote after key panel picks Pelosi back Dem over AOC for the oversight spot. A 70-year-old with cancer got selected instead of a young, up-and-coming, progressive, popular amongst the youth hero who's also a social media darling, who also is really good at fundraising, who also, for all her faults, is really good at grilling people in a position where the only real power you'll have for the next 4 years, unless the House flips, which it probably will in the midterms, it's very, very small margin of the, you know, their hold on power there. But in terms of the first couple of years, the only real power this position would have given AOC is her ability to question folk. And that's one of the only things that she's really, really, really good at, is putting people on the stand and people in positions of power and holding them to account. Mark Zuckerberg, Big Pharma, BlackRock, a lot of the companies that right now the right also hate for their own reasons, and many of them are fucked up. But hey, they don't like BlackRock. They don't like Big Pharma. They don't like big tech, except for Elon Musk for some reason. But you could bring on those kind of figures. You could bring on the people who run Big Pharma, big tech, BlackRock, and you could grill the ever-loving fuck out of them in front of the eyes of the world. And you could create the viral clips, and you could raise her profile. And then who knows, maybe a lot of people who are these weirdo independents or non-political activist people are going to see some of that and be like, holy shit, we got an outsider. We got someone who's challenging the elites. That's the only thing that matters to me now, because again, the internet has made my brain into soup. And so as a soup brain, I'm now thinking that I only care about people who are going to challenge the elites. Looks like she's challenging the elites. That would probably do a good thing or two. Raise her profile. If people start to follow her because she's challenging the elites or whatever, they might also think about, hey, maybe let's check out what else she's into, and maybe see something like Medicare for All, maybe see something like the Green New Deal, maybe see something like the policies that could actually, you know, maybe help preserve and extend human civilization, which would also be kind of nice at this whole, you know, game that we're playing. Jerry Connolly narrowly bested Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in a secret ballot vote on Monday for the ranking spot on the House Oversight Committee in the upcoming Congress, but the New York Progressive still has a shot to secure her role in a full Democratic caucus vote on Tuesday. Connolly's bid for top Democratic slot on the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, which could play a central role in investigating the upcoming Trump administration in the coming years, is backed by former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who has frequently clashed with Ocasio-Cortez and other progressives on policy. The House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee voted 34 to 27 behind closed doors on Monday to recommend Connolly over Ocasio-Cortez. Again, learning nothing. Being like, wow, people are kind of rejecting the message of the enlightened center-right Democrats who are tough on crime, tougher than the Republicans on the border, and that's just not really playing well in expanding their base. It seems like diet Republicans don't appeal to Republicans, and this whole outreach program to Republicans is netting us nothing. It's actually costing us because it's alienating the potential left-wing and or progressive voters. But just keep on doing the same shit. It never ends. Emma Vigland put it pretty well. RBG refused to resign at 83 and died at the end of Trump's term. He picked Barrett and 87-year-old Senate Judiciary to head Dianne Feinstein. Didn't put up a fight, and now an 84-year-old Pelosi is pushing for a 74-year-old with cancer to block the rise of a popular young progressive. I agree with lesbian hot sauce. The Democrats seem unsavable. And again, if all of this seems increasingly scary, just know that, like, I mean, I think viable pathways for your energy and your activism and, God forbid, your time in the U.S. Is not in the form of supporting the Democratic Party. It has shown itself to be a center-right neoliberal party that will do whatever it can to cling on to that, like, no matter what. It's like, yes, we would rather the Republicans control everything than in any way, shape, or form get pried away from our old talons the idea of being a center-right neoliberal third wave fucking party, because no, I'll die before that happens. Like, y'all realize they control everything now, the right, and it's the far right too. The Christian nationalists are winning the game of America. They got all the branches of government, they got the judiciary, they got it all. And now that the billionaires, the elites, and the tech oligarchs, and all the fucking the Peter Thiels of the world and the Elon Musks are the ones who are basically not only inside of government, but also going to be bankrolling government, you don't even need to do things that are popular that get people support. You know, they don't need to fundraise. They like the richest human beings on the planet can just be like, oh, what do you need? Okay, blop. There you have it. You got that now. Enjoy. The House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee, blah, blah, blah. Members said Connolly attracted staunch support from centrist Democrats after spending the last several weeks campaigning with members. He moved to lock down critical bases of support like the centrist New Democrat Coalition. Ocasio-Cortez, for her part, is backed by roughly 100-member Congressional Progressive Caucus, as well as the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. The New York Progressive also secured the backing of a majority of members of the House Oversight Committee, which is set to be controlled by Republicans until 2026 at least. Rokana wrote on social media that many in the House Democratic Caucus, including himself, will back Ocasio-Cortez in Tuesday's vote. Following Monday's steering panel, Ocasio-Cortez told reporters she is locked in and working hard. We are still in this. This is a difficult business of hope and defiant expectation. We do not give up. In private, Ocasio-Cortez, who won her seat in Congress by toppling a high-ranking Democrat, has signaled to her colleagues that she might no longer back congressional primary challenges against them. The race between Connolly and Ocasio-Cortez is seen as a proxy fight between younger, more progressive faction of the Democratic Party and the old guard, which appears bent on maintaining control. In recent days, Pelosi has reported, like, at this point, I'm starting to wonder, is it a kink? Is this a kink? Is it a fetish? Is it that, like, at this point, you know, in their extremely old age, power is more important than anything else? You know, it's just that proximity to power, just clinging on at all costs, just no matter what. Even in the fucking the face of, hey, by the way, Christian nationalists and fascism is rising. They control everything. No, my precious. 4 more years. 4 more years of center-right policies deeply unpopular with everyone. It's the cost of power. And you're just like, Jesus Christ. But why? Why? You're pointing a 70-year-old with cancer into this position when you have, again, one of the most popular politicians amongst youth in the country wanting to take the reins. And the only real power that you'll have in this position initially for the next 2 years is, again, her ability to summon and question before the House committee ghouls, which she does well. It's one of the things she does really fucking well. But instead, it's just like, no, we must have a few more years left. Let me cling on to the last vestige of power. AOC is objectively a more skilled communicator and a narrative sharper than just about anybody in her party, and certainly more than Connolly. Her ability as an explainer is top-notch, and her penchant for conveying outrage and injustice is sorely lacking in the party's upper echelons. Yes! God damn it! Get a fucking streamer in there. Get a YouTuber in there. Get a fucking TikToker in there. Someone who knows how to collectively get people upset at issues that actually concern them. If you can get the fucking head of, like, the CEO of BlackRock to sit in front of you in a live taped congressional hearing where she can then upload the videos to all social media and actually be like, you evil draconian fucks, you are buying up all of the property in the United States, you are increasing the rents, you are destroying the working class, shame on you, while you know that they're just going to sit there doing the Peter Thiel and like, yeah, that this is a good thing. No, it's not going to change the world. No, it's not going to make that CEO go home and be like, I'm really scared of the potential Luigi backlash from what I just did. I really should be, changing my ways. I should be a good person. Maybe I should stop doing evil upon the world. It's not going to suddenly enact socialism, but it's certainly going to get a lot more people to see and care about this shit, who are suddenly going to be like, have you seen that clip on the internet where Peter Thiel, it looks like a testicle and he's got veins bursting out of the side of his head when he's asked about the CEO shooting, and he's just like, well, yeah, that's good actually. The more people see that and see what it looks like and be like, holy shit, that guy's, yeah, he's one of the richest humans. Not only that, he's got the ear of the president. He's deeply entrenched. He was Elon Musk's business partner with PayPal for a very long time. He owns a large percentage of Facebook. These are the people controlling the world. They're profoundly evil. They're cartoonishly evil. He looks like a human testicle, and that's one of the guys who's going to be making a lot of decisions that could potentially destroy the planet for a lot of us. So that's what it looks like. Yeah, and it's good that more people learn about that. You know, the more people are suddenly learning about how fucked up this shit is, as the right are going full fasci.
The New Republic outlines Hegseth's prediction that the military may have to mobilize against U.S. citizens in a civil war. That comes from his 2020 book, American Crusade. In it, Hegseth writes, America will decline and die. A national divorce will ensue.
Very patriotic.
Outnumbered freedom lovers will fight back. The military and police, both bastions of freedom-loving patriots, will be forced to make a choice. It will not.
Now, I mean, like, the only saving grace here is that this could be deep in the, like, throes of an ether intoxication. Like, you know, he could be fucking 47 brandies deep at this point, and then this is just, like, you know, part of what happens when he has too much. I mean, on the better side of things, it seems like if it's not this, it's, you know, trying to sexually assault people. The guy's a creep, he's a monster, and he certainly has a lot of, yikesy tattoos all over his body. Seems to be a Christian nationalist, pretty, you know, deeply intertwined with some white supremacist sentiments, and doesn't wash himself, refuses to wash his own hands even after shitting, which is beyond gross and very scary about him potentially coming into power and then enacting what he feels is a necessary civil war. I've seen other Trump cabinet appointees starting to say shit like, hey, by the way, we're going to have to go through a period of suffrage before we can start to get to the light and all that kind of shit. And it's like, why is anyone tolerating this?
Not be good. Yes, there will be some form of civil war. In another section, Hegseth writes that our present moment is much like the 11th century. We do not want to fight, but like our fellow Christians 1,000 years ago, we must arm yourself, metaphorically, intellectually, physically.
I mean, he makes it so clear. Just so we're clear, I mean this metaphorically and intellectually and physically. It's like, oh, okay. So you just literally, you want what, the Inquisition? The Crusades? Is that what you're saying? Are you going to defy the non-existent Ottoman Empire? Like, what do you want here?
They never in a million years thought we'd be back in power. And they need to learn what populist nationalist power is on the receiving end. I mean investigations, trials, and then incarceration. And I'm just talking about the media. Should the media, where's the viceroy? Should the media be included in the vast criminal conspiracy against President Trump and his followers? Should Andrew Weissman on MSNBC?
The sad thing about all this is that, like, they're not being secretive about it. They're really broadcasting the fascism. Let's go attack the lying press, and then let's, like, go silence the media, and then let's attack our political opponents. Should we jail them? Should we weaponize the FBI to become a branch of the Trump enemies list assassination squad? Hey, that's kind of what we want to do, and we're going to do it and say it out loud. You had a couple of Democrats, including the vice president who's running for presidency, say Project 2025 is fascism. This is fascism. They're trying to enact fascism. And then you're like, do you know what that word means, or do you believe your own words? I feel like you don't give a fuck, because as soon as the election's over, it's all smiles and like, we'll get them next time. Yeah, we're disappointed with the results, but honestly, we tried our best, and that's all you can do. And yeah, I mean, hey, we'll see all you in you know, 2 years for the midterms, and then 2 years after that, and then yeah, it's all just a game. It's just a game. It goes back and forth. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll be fine. I hope. But mostly we'll be fine. I just mean financially. We're all very rich. We're deeply entrenched. Oh boy, our stocks are soaring. Yeah, I mean, sad about the election loss. Real happy about those markets though. Ooh, baby, have you seen Bitcoin? Wow, 100,000 to the moon it goes. Yep, up until it doesn't. Up until there is a massive financial crash. Could there be a massive financial crash? Sure as fuck looks like it. Sure as fuck looks like that's where we're headed. If you're going to impose tariffs on your two leading trading partners, Canada and Mexico, if you're going to jail hundreds of thousands of immigrants and then try and deport them, you know, one of your largest workforces, you will crash the US economy. You will completely demolish it, which in turn could crash the world economy. And then at that point, well, it's someone else. It wasn't us. We did everything right. No, we have to vilify another. We need to militarize. We need a harmony between the corporation and the state. We need to fuse the two so that we can really enact this Christian nationalism. And then, yeah, barrel towards barbarism, unfortunately.
President-elect Donald Trump making huge news today. In fact, he was asked about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. taking Capitol Hill in meetings and all of it this week in his effort to become the next Health and Human Services Secretary. RFK Jr. is set to meet with dozens of senators in particular over the next 4 days, and he'll surely face some questions about his views on vaccines, fluoride in drinking water, and America's food system. Meanwhile, new Fox polling shows 48% of Americans would approve his confirmation. That scored as the highest mark for any of Trump's cabinet picks. And today, the president-elect defended RFK Jr. as his choice for HHS.
What do you say to people who are worried that his views on vaccines will translate into policies that will make their kids less safe?
No, I think he's going to be much less radical than you would think. I think he's got a very open mind, or I wouldn't have put him there. He's going to be very much less radical. But there are problems. I mean, we don't do as well.
So, which part? I was so curious. You know, the guy, he actually wrote a book about how HIV doesn't cause AIDS. He said out loud that he believes COVID-19 is a bioweapon engineered to spare Ashkenazi Jews and target black people. That's a pretty profoundly fucked up thing to think or say out loud, you know? Even to think. Wow. What about microplastics in the water is what causes gender dysphoria and trans people? That's not real. That's not true. There's absolutely no scientific basis for that whatsoever. But he said it out loud, and he thinks it, and he believes it, and the whole vaccines cause autism thing, well, that's been debunked for some time. It is not true in any way, shape, or form. Here we go.
There's a lot of other nations, and those nations use nothing. And we're going to find out what those problems are.
What do you think is the key point here that the president made on that, Ainsley? I mean, what he's talking about here is the fact that he wants everything looked at. I can't imagine who wouldn't want that. Americans agree.
The Fox News poll is it's obvious who we like,
Yeah, people love RFK, you know? He takes his HGH, gender affirming care. He gets swole. He loves to basically harvest animal carcasses, which I guess appeals to some vocal, you know? I mean, who amongst us has not seen a dead whale carcass and immediately thought, I should cut off the head and put it on my car and have my children drink the sweet juices that fall within their mouths like a large mother bird. That's a thing that happened. But yeah, Americans do seem to love him. I've seen some strange takes from people on the left as well, you know, specifically the Sock Dems being like, well, maybe there's some room to work here. Because he is saying some things that are not completely batshit insane. He did say, for example, that, you know, that there's a lot of bad chemicals in a lot of mainstream mass-produced foods. He's not wrong. There certainly is. They are oversaturated with preservatives, salts, fats, sugars. That is true. I don't see him actually taking on the 11 mega corporations that produce the vast majority of food that Americans consume, though. I don't see him fucking with that bag. I see it much more likely that he's going to enact what he can, which will in one way or another help big corporations and at the same time make everyday people's lives much, much more unhealthy. So
we're all excited about him. How wonderful is it that we might not have to worry about our children with autism or our kids with developing cancer, or, it's wonderful that he wants to clean up our foods. Our foods in Europe, when we go to Europe, we can eat pasta, we can eat pizza, we don't gain any weight. I know you walk a lot, but you don't gain weight, you feel fresh.
So, by the way, this is a big takeaway, and I've heard this from a lot of people, by the way, and like it's okay, so it is true that the vast majority of mainstream mass-produced consumer foods, processed foods in the United States, are unhealthier than the processed foods that you'll find even north of the border. When you go into Canada, for example, there's more regulation on a lot of the substances and chemicals you can put inside those processed foods. So they are generally, if you're going to buy pound for pound the same processed foods here and there, they're going to be more unhealthy in the US. That part is true. If you go to Europe and you go to Italy and you are eating yourself pizza in a restaurant, that pizza is most likely going to probably be made with less chemicals than those same pizza that you find. Or if you buy a processed pizza, it's going to be loaded with tons and tons of shit that's bad for you. So that, yes, the homemade pizza is going to be better. That doesn't mean pizza is healthy. That doesn't mean that suddenly it's a good food for you. This seems to be a very kind of like rich, white, bougie belief that like, oh, on my third visit to Tuscany, I was just amazed to find that I could have, an Alfredo every single day and then an entire bottle of wine. And I felt so good. I felt so great. And, and it was like, well, maybe it was because you were exercising for the first time in a while and you were walking a lot. And maybe that helped play a role. Could be the wine. It could have been the bottle of wine too. That probably made you feel awesome. That could have played a role. I'm guessing in how happy you were feeling at the time. I mean, it's drugs. You were taking drugs. It could have been the drugs. It may have been that as well. So the fact that you can afford the vacation in the first place to see Tuscany for the third time that year might have played into that as well. So
you feel clean. You come back here. You start eating pasta, and you gain weight immediately. Again, so there's something wrong with our foods. It's the pesticides, the chemicals. We want all of that out. We're excited that he's a leader. He's very knowledgeable. He has said he's going to give you choice. He's not going to take away vaccines. Everyone's not going to get polio. He said if you want a vaccine, you can vaccinate your kids, but I'm giving you choice. And he says he's going to be transparent. And Tim Scott is one of the senators he's meeting with, both my South Carolina senators, Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott. And I texted with Tim, and he said the president deserves incredible latitude in picking his team. We still have to ask very important questions, and pro-life questions are an area of interest. His approach and focus will be important as well. Yes, he's
I gained so much weight in Italy. I don't know what these people are eating while they're there. Again, I think it's people who, especially if you happen to work in the media, I'm sorry to say to the average everyday person, but it's most likely that you have a trainer. If you're working for Fox News, you have a pretty scheduled diet, a dietitian. You have a regular session at the gym every day. And I mean, no question, if you're not, like someone said in the chat, mainlining corn syrup every single day and you're suddenly walking, then you will be healthier. Exercise is good for you. Walking is good for you. Not eating refined corn syrup all the time is better for you. It's good to avoid those things. I've said before, if you want to eat cheaply, deliciously, what you should be doing is buying a lot of fruits, vegetables, beans, making your own food, making curries, making salads, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be cheaper than going to a lot of fast food places. But it also sucks because, like, you say that alone is a privileged take, because there are people in the US that live in food deserts where their only local grocery store might be a Dollarama. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you do there? Well, it's going to be a lot more difficult. But I mean, like, yeah, I would still try to avoid things like processed meats, spam. Don't buy that. That's really bad for you. Try to avoid buying just like, pre-made foods, frozen meals, frozen dinners, cans of pre-made food. All of that is probably going to be really, really bad for you. I mean, if you have to shop at Dollarama, go to the, they have a decent selection of nuts, and you can get yourself, a whole bunch of different mixed nuts and stuff like that. And they still have canned beans, and they still have canned garbanzos. Garbanzos, really good for you, right? But like, the idea that you're going to bring polio back is both infuriating and like almost to the point of like I just want to scream, because it's like we've done so many amazing things. You know, humanity can be fucked up and dark and evil and twisted and genocidal and you know, the fucking mass starvation that is going on right now. I mean, Jesus Christ, are we ever a fucked up species sometimes? But we can also do pretty cool shit. And like vaccines may be, if not the most incredible human invention. And the fact now that we've kind of gone full circle into this full ridiculous mode where suddenly vaccines bad, and it's like taken over. I saw Jack Pasebic, the fucking potato fasci, saying like, what if instead of vaccines, we took a version of a virus that was weakened and injected it into people in order to let their bodies learn about what that virus was, so that our immune systems would be able to detect it better. And I couldn't tell if it was a joke. I didn't know, but it wasn't. It wasn't a joke. Like, he was genuinely broadcasting that to the fucking world. And I was like, what are we even doing here anymore? Like, this, it's madness. It's madness. We're gonna bring back polio? Like, I mean, this is profoundly sad on so many levels. One, just the success of misinformation and the mass proliferation of misinformation. But it would just, like, it would be one of those things where if only this could be a situation in which, you know what, if you want to do that, giddy up. If you want to be like, I'm not vaccinating anyone anymore, none of us, we're living clean, I have unvaccinated, come, get ready, ladies, and that's your entire personality, and you just say, okay, God bless, and then all of a sudden there was just a mass death event, but just for that percentage of the population, then everyone else could go about their days. I mean, that would be a different scenario, but we don't live in that world. We live in a world where if there's a whole bunch of just fucking batshit wackos like this who are going to be like, vaccines actually, they're dangerous and bad for you, and you shouldn't vaccinate yourself for anything, not even polio, avoid that. Well, then we give all of these diseases the opportunity to mutate within a large population, and then all of a sudden the vaccines that we do have for the people who do want to get vaccinated become less and less effective, and that's how you do get all these new outbreaks, and that's how you do get all these mass proliferations of diseases that we thought at one point or another we had eradicated. Unfortunately, we also like do a form of like vaccine poverty and apartheid, in that like we only offer vaccines initially to the countries that can afford them, and we will mass vaccinate ourselves, but then we don't do campaigns where, hey, by the way, we should vaccinate the planet, because human beings live everywhere, we travel, we fly everywhere. Even the countries that can't afford it, it's in the best interest of humanity to do a mass vaccination campaign where we vaccinate every single human, regardless of their status, regardless of the amount of money they have, regardless of where they live, because then we can actually eradicate it. That's how we could do that. And like, hey, we were proposing that for a little while with COVID. It's like, hey, if we do this, if we have a successful vaccine, an mRNA vaccine, technology, just absolutely stunning. If we can vaccinate everyone on the planet, we can actually not have to worry about this ever again. Other than that, it becomes an endemic. AKA, we have to vaccinate ourselves every single year because it just keeps on fucking mutating. And we chose that one. Because, again, it's one of those things where, like, oh, it would be great if we just went to a lot of the poor nations and vaccinated everybody. And then we're like, we're going to do that eventually. And then it's like, okay, well, at least our own populations in the countries that can afford it, everyone's going to get vaccinated, right? No. Freedom has to reign. It's better if freedom reigns. And if freedom reigns, there's going to be a large percentage of the people who listen to Joe Rogan who are going to think that's a silly idea. Okay, so we're just letting, yes, we're going to let it turn into an endemic. Like, I remember when I got vaccinated this year, talking, or actually it was last year, talking to the nurse and being like, so this is just fully becoming an endemic, is that it? And then they're like, I don't know what to tell you, but like, it's really hard to convince billions of humans collectively that this is all in our best interest, that this is actually kind of a miracle that we've been able to do this whole vaccination thing, that we are able to not only develop this but mass produce it on a scale of which we could vaccinate everyone. That it miraculous. Again, one of the crowning achievements of the human species, that we can do something like this, but also an indictment upon us all in that, yes, we're still going to be a capitalist, society / nation / world where we're not going to deliver in time vaccinations to poor nations that will need it, and amongst our own populations, because we got to let freedom reign. We're unfortunately going to have a very large percentage of the population that refuses to participate, and in that population, the virus will mutate successfully multiple times, requiring all of us to continue to have to do this all the time. So, left arm, right arm. What do you want? What do you want to have happen here? So RFK Jr. is going to make the U.S. healthier. Trump is lashing out at judges who refuse to dismiss his business fraud convictions. Again, I'm not going to go too much into this, but more signs of just them abusing their power. Again, a lot of these are just kind of like check marks on the whole road to fascism, which kind of really fucking sucks. But
hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/the Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Voltimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincel, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.